Welcome to Pleroma Pathways, Apocalyptic and Mystic Christianity, where we explore esoteric and apocalyptic texts. Gog's invasion, a divine punishment for bloodshed. Numbers 35:33-34 states, "So you shall not pollute the land in which you live, for blood defiles the land, and no atonement can be made for the land for the blood that is shed on it, except by the blood of him who shed it. You shall not defile the land in which you live, in the midst of which I live. For I, the Lord, live among the people of Israel." This passage highlights a divine principle. When innocent blood is shed, it defiles the land, and only the execution of the guilty can cleanse it. The modern state of Israel, through its actions in Gaza, including the destruction of hospitals, schools, and civilian infrastructure, has shed innocent blood. According to biblical law, such actions bring defilement that demands divine justice. Ezekiel 38 presents Gog's invasion of Israel as a direct consequence of divine judgment. Just as ancient Israel faced foreign invasions when it turned away from righteousness, modern Israel, having committed acts of oppression and violence, may face a similar reckoning. Gog's invasion is not merely a geopolitical event, it is a divine decree of judgment upon a land that has been defiled by bloodshed. The role of Russia in the prophetic alignment of nations. The current geopolitical shifts, particularly the Russia-Ukraine conflict, align with biblical prophecy. Many scholars identify Gog as a leader from the uttermost parts of the north, Ezekiel 38:6-15, a reference to Russia. Magog has been linked to the Scythians, an ancient people who lived in what is now Ukraine and parts of Central Europe. Historical records, including those from Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, associate Magog with this region. Recent peace talks between Russia and Ukraine suggest a possible shift in alliances. If Russia gains control over Ukraine, it could strengthen its position to extend its influence further, first over Turkey and eventually toward Israel. This aligns with Ezekiel's vision of a northern coalition descending upon the Holy Land. The path to invasion: Russia, Turkey, and Israel. Ezekiel 38:2-6 lists the nations involved in Gog's confederation, including Persia, modern Iran, Cush, possibly Ethiopia or parts of Africa, Put, Libya, and regions identified as Meshech and Tubal, historically associated with Turkey. The growing ties between Russia, Turkey, and Iran suggest a possible fulfillment of this prophecy. If Russia solidifies its control over Ukraine, its next geopolitical target could be Turkey. Historically, Russia has sought access to the Mediterranean through the Turkish Straits, and controlling Turkey would position Russia closer to Israel. With Turkey under Russian influence, the stage would be set for the final move, Gog's invasion of Israel. This invasion would not be merely political or military. It would be a divine judgment against Israel's defilement of the land through bloodshed, the end of NATO, and the rise of the Eastern Alliance. One of the striking details in Ezekiel 38 is the absence of Western nations in the conflict. The text mentions Sheba, Dedan, and the merchants of Tarshish, Ezekiel 38:13, often identified with Britain and its allies, but they do not intervene militarily. Instead, they merely question the invasion. This suggests that by the time of Gog's invasion, Western alliances like NATO may no longer be capable of countering Russian expansion. Recent geopolitical trends indicate growing divisions within NATO, with some European nations expressing reluctance to continue confrontation with Russia. Romania's protests over a pro-Russian candidate's disqualification signal shifting political sentiments. Slovakia's demonstrations against pro-Russian policies reflect internal tensions within Europe. Croatia's opposition to NATO involvement in Ukraine indicates divisions in the West. If these trends continue, NATO could weaken or dissolve, allowing Russia to expand unchecked. This would align with Ezekiel's vision, where Gog's forces face little resistance from Western nations. The divine judgment on Gog. While Gog's invasion is a form of divine punishment on Israel, it is not the end of the story. Ezekiel 38:39 describes how God will directly intervene, sending fire and destruction upon Gog's forces. This mirrors the principle in Numbers 35:33-34. Those who shed innocent blood will themselves face divine judgment. Gog, representing the forces of oppression and conquest, will meet the same fate as those he attacks. Just as Israel faces punishment for its bloodshed, Gog too will be consumed in the fire of divine retribution. Conclusion: watching for the unfolding of prophecy. Current world events suggest that we are witnessing the prophetic realignment of nations. Russia's expansion into Ukraine is a precursor to its dominance over Turkey. Israel's actions in Gaza have defiled the land, inviting divine judgment. The weakening of NATO may pave the way for Russia's unchallenged movement toward Israel. Gog's invasion will be both a punishment on Israel and a prelude to God's ultimate judgment on the nations. As we observe these developments, we recognize that they unfold according to divine timing. The ultimate hope lies in the return of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, who will establish true justice and restore righteousness. Let us remain watchful, discerning the signs of the times, as we await the fulfillment of God's prophetic word.